Hey everyone, welcome back to our monthly PowerBrew session hosted by Advantage C, which is a service of Carroll Community College. My name's Jill Hermes, and I'll be moderating today with Michelle Shepard, who is our Client Support Services Coordinator. I'm the Director of Corporate Solutions here at Advantage C, and just in case you're not familiar with Advantage C, we'll take you through a little bit of an overview. So Advantage C offers a variety of services to our community. Training is one. We offer training in a variety of topics from leadership and management to emerging technologies, sales and service programs, safety and compliance training. We also offer consulting services, facilitation and assessment. So if you're wondering, what's going on in your organization, what exactly is the climate, if you will, that's something that we can help you assess. So please contact us if you have any questions about that. And the nice thing about all of these services is that they are customized to your specific corporate culture and organization. And Michelle's going to walk you through some of the logistics.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Most of you that have been with us before have seen this control panel. We like to go over quickly that you are able to minimize that pane there or expand it to see more or less of the presentation. You'll see that question pane at the bottom. Most of you know that we encourage you to submit questions. As time permits, we'll get to those questions. I know last month we had somebody actually call in, which was pretty cool. So keep that in mind as well as we go through the webinar today.
Thanks, Michelle. So today we're very happy to have Richard Turner be our presenter. Richard Turner has more than 30 years experience in video production, information technologies, business management, business development, marketing, community media, and engagement. He is currently serving as the Executive Director of the Community Media Center of Carroll County. And Richard also provides consulting services in his own small business and serves as adjunct faculty here at Carroll Community College. He continues to produce, direct, and edit a lot of different projects, including documentaries, music videos, and live event coverage. So I won't take the mic anymore. I'll just return that right over to our presenter. Welcome.
Great. Thanks. It's great to be here this morning. I brought my coffee just to make sure everybody that I was brewed up, ready for the PowerBrew. And so it's great to have everyone here. And we're going to throw out a quick poll there. So we want you to take a chance to give us a little bit of input here so we know what your experience with video is and working in your business environment, or even if it's outside the business environment, but just to get a sense of how you've been utilizing video, and if you've been doing it on a regular basis or just thinking about it or tried that once, not sure. So if you just give a little bit of feedback there, it gives us a good drive as we go along here. Want to try and make this interactive for you. If you've got questions, you can use the chat bar on the right-hand side. You can also, we're going to have questions at the end. We'll take you through a little bit. And just a little bit more here on the poll. Okay, we'll get to see our results. Great. Oh, that's the final. Okay. All right, so we have a good range here. No one's given up, but a couple not sure. So this is great. Good to see some have used on occasion, and that we've got a small group that's using it regularly. So we wanted to we'll try and cover a range. Want to make this accessible so that folks have a sense that they're getting some of the basic information. But we've gone through, and my experiences have, really looked at how technology has changed over time, and so how that has a great potential to impact us. So clearly in the area of business, it's increasingly becoming an important part and an important tool. Of course, we've seen this at home with all of our home videos, But now you really have an opportunity to look at how video could be part of whether it's your marketing, your content marketing, or communicating internally to your employees, but really finding a way to have that as another asset, another way in which you're communicating. So what we're going to try and do today in the time we've got, we're going to be covering areas of trends, why you want to use video, when, where, how, and what a little bit of the future has for video and how it would apply to your business. So, all right, so our animations are going to hopefully cooperate here as we go. All right, so here's a little quote. Someone who's a storyteller, and video really falls into this category of telling stories. When you watch video and you're getting an experience, it's really in the context of having a story told. And often we tell stories in the ways in which we communicate within certainly within business, in terms of conveying what we're doing from our marketing messages, how we came into being, how our products or services are important. So it's really always in the context of telling a story. And so the more that story can tell and can be conveying and convincing, and then brings out the wisdom, the way we work through that story is an important one. And so video helps us do that because it allows us to convey a lot. As you saw in my description, if a photo tells 1,000 words, perhaps a video tells 1,000,000 words. And so to that extent, how can we use video to communicate a lot when increasingly time is seemingly short? So I just want to do a little bit of background because we have sort of an understanding and sometimes a misunderstanding about video and how it's changed over time. So, I mean, we know about video and how it used to be complicated. It used to require specialists. You know, you had to go out and hire a crew or someone who has gotten a training or a degree when it comes to television. It usually cost a fair amount of money if you were looking at doing a high-end video, and often people think about it in the context of what they see on television and what it costs to produce a commercial, for example, or of course the highest level might be the Super Bowl commercial that costs, last round I think it was something like $5 million for 30 seconds. So you can imagine how much money they poured into actually producing that commercial. You'd think about it in the context of you requiring specialized equipment, video cameras, recorders, and special effects generators, editing systems, things of that nature. And importantly, the ways in which video is distributed was pretty restricted. We refer to this as walled gardens, your cable system, or if you had some kind of a distribution system in your building that was RF or an antenna system. The way to get video from point A to point B wasn't necessarily easy. Worked well in the home, but not very well in business. So you can still do it this way, but times have changed. You know this as technology's moved on. For example, now who reads the manual? I mean, you expected pretty much to just take that thing out of the box. Have you looked at your phone manual? Did you even get a manual with your mobile phone or your smartphone? Instead of having specialists, now we're relying more increasingly on generalists. And so it enables the generalists to take on these various skills. This started certainly with the desktop publishing and having software that made it much easier to generate new and better looking content, and more sources to have the various kinds of content available to you. So they were templates driven rather than having to create things from scratch, clip art, things of that nature. When it comes to time, certainly you have to have some time to create it, but people can get creative, find ways to get that product done. And certainly if you were to engage interns in this, they're likely to be what they refer to now as digital natives, those who have grown up with this stuff and sort of like just do it naturally. And of course, when it comes to technology, every phone, every laptop has probably got a camera in it. And so that is a video camera that you can use. And so the concept of BYOD, or bring your own device into the world of business, is happening every single day now, and increasingly so with tablets and other devices that are able to record. So now nearly every platform supports video. So when you're looking at video delivery or communications out into the marketplace via the internet and internal communications, just about every platform that you're going to touch or utilize will support video. So it's a great opportunity to extend its features and increase and leverage its power. And artificial intelligence is obviously, you're hearing more and more about this. In some ways it's a little bit scary, but also there's some good elements to it, in which it's going to make things a little bit simpler for us. So there are ways in which artificial intelligence can take our content and build that content for us. So we spend less time worrying about the content and focus a little bit more on the final product. So AI is going to have that get to everything. It's going to make it sort of everything way cool. It's going to be way faster. So increasingly, the reasons not to use video are going away. So there's no reason not to use it. Everyone starts to expect it. And increasingly, we're bombarded with video. And so I think the expectation increasingly is that video is going to be around us. It's going to be one of the ways in which we communicate. And that email, for example, is having less and less impact, as research has been showing, because people are basically letting their email box get overflowing, overfull, overwhelming, and therefore ignored. So why would we want to use video to communicate? Well, certainly a level of engagement. And research really shows that video increases the level of engagement. The saying goes, I'll believe it when I see it, right? So this visual medium, the ability to actually communicate through your opportunity to actually see something, is going to increase your level of engagement, especially when there's motion involved. Motion, audio, increasing and using more of the senses. So when content is delivered through video, research shows that there's increased consumption, there's increased retention, and so therefore from a learning environment, especially if you're doing something and wanting to train or convey, convince, those are areas in which having video will increase the level of retention of the information that you want to send out. So, as I mentioned before, people are just starting to expect it. Every website now has video on it that's taken seriously. You can look at the content that's being generated on YouTube. All around you, you're getting bombarded with video. You're seeing digital signage screens in businesses. The kinds of signs that you see driving down the streets in terms of billboards now include video and motion video. And when I say video, I'm also including anything that could be graphics. PowerPoint, for example, really is a video medium. And the human brain is really hooked on video. The human brain is really intrigued and drawn in by video. And there are a couple of reasons for this. One is motion. We are trained to detect motion out of the far edges of our range of vision. The theory goes is that we were, in order to survive, get away from animals and threats, that we detect that level of motion so that we can survive, we can live to the next day. And so to a certain extent, video is constant motion, and so it draws us to our eyes to the screen. And you can see this certainly if you've been to any event under which they use what they call video IMAG, or image magnification, where there's a speaker up on, or a panelist up on the stage, and they've got video and they've got large screens. Do you watch the large screen or do you watch the human being? And probably far too often you're probably watching the large screen rather than the human being. Part of it is the intrigue of how it works. There's a little bit of a mystique to video. And of course, with special effects, there are things that can happen in video that you don't normally see in real life. So all of that is a pretty compelling way in which you get drawn into video, and using that to your advantage helps you communicate. Now, it's also driven by social proof, meaning that the more people are engaged in some activity, the more people are likely to be convinced that that's a good thing. Social proof is, the situation where you're walking down the street and you see 4 or 5 people looking up, and you have a tendency to look up because there's a lot of people around you doing the same thing. So you join in, and so video has an ability to draw in a larger audience, and therefore fueled by social conformity, you will be more engaged, and as social beings, we want to participate in that particular way. So those are all factors that sort of draw us into this as a medium and get us engaged in a way that sometimes just reading a book or reading an email doesn't quite do the same thing. So to our extent, we want to be able to influence, to extend our brands, our knowledge, and our wisdom within our organizations. And so video gives us this great advantage, and that's why as a tool set for something in business now, you're able to take it to another level. So we've got another poll here. Want to get a little bit of an idea for those who are using video, how you're using that video. And again, it could be in a varying ways. So I've picked a couple categories here, get an idea. So if you complete the poll, get an idea how you're using video.
Richard, I'm just going to chime in a minute. And that last slide kind of took me back to my social psych class in college. And there's a lot that goes into this as to why we're so drawn into it.
Yeah, there really is. And even at I've been thinking about this at an even more profound level, talking about storytelling. Ages ago, we used to sit around the fire, and that's the place where we exchanged stories, learned about what we would do and how we could survive and work better together as a social society, as a family. And in some little way, the TV set is the fire of the day. Those little lights turning on and off are fire. I mean, that's essentially what's happening with electrons. We're drawn to fire. We know fire is a sustaining and as a power that protects us. So I wonder how much of that still lives on today in television.
Right.
All right, well, let's see. We've got a range of answers. Content marketing, good. We've got some folks who are actually creating content and using it as part of their marketing approach and distributing that content. That's great. For product demos is one in which you can essentially provide a great opportunity to record and distribute about your particular products or services, and also providing support. I see live sales in here. HR and internal is a great way, especially when you've got larger organizations and multiple locations under which you've got the desire to have your CEO or head top management convey important messages, and video is a great way to do that. And general business information, again, just general release of information, like getting the word out about new releases or something that's going on within the organization, future trends, future general information for stakeholders and employees and even customers. So great, excellent. All right, so let's talk a little bit about what's the best use of video, because here it's what's important is when you want to communicate is ensuring, and when you're going to make that kind of investment, is making sure that it's really aligned with your strategic focus as an organization. Why are you using video in this particular way? What's its messaging? And as you're packaging the messaging, importantly, that there is a sense of, it resonates with your overall marketing messages, it resonates with your values, and it really demonstrates how you're moving forward in strategic direction as an organization, as a business effort. So when you've got that strategic planning, it's looking at how does video fit into the strategic plan? Where are the specific communication points under which video could reinforce so that it doesn't take away from that strategic effort? You don't want to create, what they refer to as cognitive dissonance. I start thinking I should be getting one thing, but I'm experiencing something completely different. So it's important to be really intentional, really think through the objectives of the video, how it's going to be used, how will you measure what's going to happen with that video. Now, of course, it requires some skills, some creation skills. So it's important to understand the best time to use that video is when those skills are starting to become available to you. And you could outsource that. You could look to others to help create that content for you. But you'll still be needing to be thinking about how you communicate and how you organize that communication, because video is going to it will be a little bit different to communicate than it is working through a brochure. So it's really learning how to utilize and maximize that investment with those skills. I think it's also important to consider how to develop a sense of what's that return on investment. How will I know? What indicators or measures will I have to know that this investment in video really worked, or that the messaging in the video really worked? And so having some method to create some analytics, get some metrics back in various forms. And it could be, if it's just you share something with your employees, do you have a method of doing just a quick survey of them to find out that it really reached the message, what you wanted to convey was conveyed. So they know you can continue to rely upon that video as a good source of information. If you're getting into video, especially in the area of content marketing, you need the ability to sustain it. It's one thing to start an effort and have a couple of videos out there, but after a while, people are going to be looking for the next video. And we're not talking about becoming video stars or having a regular YouTube presence, but really just mapping out and having the resources within the organization, either bringing it in from an outsourced standpoint or training and building capacity within existing positions within the organization, so that they have an expectation of how to begin to build that content as part of their regular workflow. Adding that or recognizing workflow and incorporating is really important in my view, because there are probably times and points in which information is available and those who are the subject matter experts could be nudged into or increased in terms of their capacity to actually record the work that they're doing, the aha moments, for example, the backstory to the development of a product, a service, a particular customer who was helped, and the realization or the testimony from that particular customer. And so right now we do that a lot through surveys. We send a customer survey after the fact, perhaps, or we call them up and ask them. Probably doesn't take much more to actually, if you got that customer face-to-face, to engage them and ask them to record a video as well. If they're an engaged and enthusiastic customer or supporter or an evangelist, certainly they are going to be ones who will help you as part of that process. And then having a regular calendar and campaign. So think through, once I've got this started, am I going to communicate something on a regular basis? How often will I do that? And how often do I need to make that presence known? If I'm building, for example, a support library so that I can have increased opportunities for my frequently asked questions to be delivered via video, how many of those videos do I need, and how soon can I roll them out and make them available as part of my support website, for example? And it's acceptable. You should give yourself permission to start simple. Something as simple as PowerPoint in an automated mode, adding audio to that, doing a screencast, for example, is a great way to start. You don't have to go out and buy a camera and an editing system and take a class. Just use your PowerPoint basics. And there's a lot of information out there on the web about how to do improved PowerPoint or presentations. Make that your first marker to be able to start creating video. So where can video have the most impact? Of course, extending your corporate voice or your business voice. And it's important, and when you're thinking about marketing, is what is your voice? Is one sort of the serious, data-driven, or is it light, jovial, on the humorous side? Having a consistency and continuity in voice so that it's reflective both in your materials and your marketing materials and your marketing presentations, but that's very important in the way in which you deliver your video for in the marketing world and your external presence. So be thinking about that voice. What is it that what is that voice going to reflect? How is it reinforcing your brand? So it's an important part because it's expressing your values and your principles. You want it to really connect, have a great sense of resonance. So content marketing and recruiting is a great place for video, and being able to generate content. And again, we're not talking about long videos in this case, because if you've been looking at any of the analytics or trends in YouTube in terms of online video, we're talking about 4 minutes is the average. So you're really trying to take less time to communicate more and take the leveraging the opportunity to communicate more in video as a result. So you doesn't have to be overwhelming. And so content marketing is something, though, that really requires a good campaign and calendar. You want to be able to release content marketing on a fairly regular basis so that people begin to expect it, look for it, consume it, driving it into places like LinkedIn, for example, as well as Twitter. Facebook, of course, is a natural, but YouTube is really going to be the major one. We'll talk about a little bit more about that in a minute. So product demonstration is a great place to do videos because basically you do product demonstrations. Once you've got that demonstration perfected, you're going to be doing it rinse and repeat. I don't know how many times, 1,000 times. So having video supplement what you're doing in product demonstration, in some cases doing the whole product demonstration, because it allows you to stop, start, pause, shift time so that you're able to actually pull up and have a more effective demonstration of that product, show different angles on the product through that video, which is harder to do when you're doing a live presentation. Also getting that testimonial, having the individuals who are engaged in your services, talking about your services, or who are actually taking advantage of, or in some cases using that product or using those services, going to them and engaging them and having them help you create that content so that they can demonstrate in their own way their excitement and enthusiasm about the successes and impact that your products and services have had for them For staff and customer training, here's a great way to ensure a level of continuity and consistency. As we know, every time we do a training, if we give it off to someone else to train, where there's going to be some generational loss in the content and the way in which that content could be distorted, maybe not heard the same way. When creating a video, you can be ensured that the content is delivered consistently every single time, and giving individuals an opportunity to consume the content. You can even do with various learning management systems that are available through web to do pause and testing, so that you can verify that individuals have achieved the level of knowledge and have mastered that level of knowledge and are able then to apply that knowledge. So with learning management systems, and there are various ones that are available on the web, you can take that video, deliver it through a learning management system, track that they're in fact creating, logging in, creating an element of contact with it, meeting your objectives in terms of that training. So tracking it and knowing where they need additional support. So that's a great way of staying in touch with them without having an actual physical presence on them constantly for that training element, because we know training and keeping up with things just is a constant challenge. In terms of business forecast and updates, this is a great way to extend just your being a knowledge leader, getting an understanding of where your business and the business trends are, and being able to share that with your customers and with others. So updates to what you're doing in your business and forecast. What's your roadmap? Where do you see your business headed? And so that it creates a sense of excitement and future forecast for the ways in which your customers and your stakeholders would be engaged with you as a business. Helps develop that relationship. And certainly in relationship building is building a community. And so sometimes I've seen a number of businesses just take the fun moment of capturing their employees, having fun, doing something that's just outside of the norm of what you would expect in a business, gives a real true human sense to what's going on in the organization. So it's not just a front counter feel or a transactional feel. You really get to know and understand the people who are behind that business and how they relate to you and how they relate to the products and services that you're interested in selling. So as a customer, it's a great perspective to get a better relationship with your organization. So for those of you who are engaged in marketing, wondering if you've got a path through the year that you use have you developed a calendar, and what frequency you're doing that? So I know I'm always kind of challenged of trying to get a calendar going and sticking on that calendar. But having that calendar at least gives you a little bit of an idea of thinking about what might be coming up and how you can get that content out, what might be required to pull that content together, who's responsible to help sustain it, and engaging more individuals within your organization as part of the communications and marketing effort. Obviously, you've probably got someone whose primary focus is on marketing, but that becomes a pinch point, a funnel under which things sort of get closed down. And of course, you want a consistent message. So how can you get individuals within your organization bought into the concept that they can help contribute content and create that content? So we've got a good mix here, a range of people who are doing it weekly, monthly, and quarterly. Whenever you can get to it, sometimes that's what it is for me. I know that's okay. Yeah, I can get that one more time. I can get to it. And we've got some folks that are like, yeah, what's that marketing calendar thing? So generally, take the year and map it out. Take an idea of what kinds of information you want to be able to send out, and that might meet seasonal requirements. So you might do that first on a quarterly basis as an example, looking at what is going on in that particular season, if there's a push, if there's particular products that are going to be going on sale, if there's a different influence in the marketplace that shifts people's thinking about your products or services, and that would be a good time leading into that would have an opportunity to get more information in the marketplace. So now they're thinking about you as a business and are better prepared to meet whatever is that particular seasonal requirement. Obviously, people have increased needs based upon what's going on in the season. So that's a great way to, again, move through your marketing calendar and have an idea and pace yourself as to what you can generate. And then it's always good to take content that you've produced once and then repurpose it. Make sure that you try and create evergreen content. Try not to put dates, time specific items within your content so that you could use it at a different time in year. So let's talk a little bit about creating and distributing video. You know, YouTube, it is the 800-pound gorilla when it comes to search. It's number 2 out there. So they definitely dominate. They've got last check, they've got 1 billion hours watched daily. When I did the last round of research here on this, I found numbers all over the map from 200 to 300 hours of content being uploaded to YouTube on a hourly basis. So it's amazing that the amount of content that's been generated, seeing how this just started in 2005. So YouTube obviously has some benefits and it has some downsides. Certainly its benefits is there are a lot of people there. And so that's also its downside. There are a lot of people there. There's a lot of content there. So your content has to figure out how to stand out and how do you get your content there. So typically people are using YouTube as a way to get content stored and accessible on the internet. It's free. It does, even though it is free, although you could find ways to work around it, you're going to have other ads potentially popping up and around your YouTube video. The shorter you make it, the less ads there will be. It also could end up being co-located with other content of a similar nature. So in that way, it could be taking people away from you. So people generally are embedding YouTube in web pages or finding to distribute content in their mailers that are utilizing YouTube so that the first view, the first touch when it comes to YouTube is being essentially is wrapped around something that you're delivering to your customer. Certainly in terms of finding folks or them stumbling across you, YouTube is increasingly being used as a search vehicle as well. So I know when I'm looking for how-tos right now, or I've got a problem I'm trying to solve, I'm looking on YouTube, doing a search on YouTube so I can get a video for it. There are better sites out there for content marketing than YouTube for the very reason that I talked about in terms of having your message potentially being diluted. When the video ends, you know, YouTube puts up a display of what could be up to 16 potentially other videos that they're enticing you to watch. So, or the viewer to watch, and so that's going to take you away from your content, even if you've got a channel. So there are certain sites that are really designed around developing and distributing content marketing. Of course, you have to bring individuals to that video. The content marketing itself, though, allows you to really draw in additional features. So if you're trying to do lead generation, for example, and grow your pipeline, you can put in forms and be able to collect data and basically build your CRM and integrate it to your CRM, which you can't do with YouTube. So there's far better integrations with some other sites out there, like Wistia is one of those. And they can provide you a little bit better advantage. But you might start with YouTube. YouTube gives you some very basic analytics so you can track what you're seeing in terms of utilization, who's tuning in, when they're tuning in, how responsive are they being to your campaign. And then as you're finding that you're getting some success and you're feeling like you're able to develop a pretty solid calendar, and certainly in the area of content marketing, then considering some of the other platforms that are out there because of the cost that is involved in that.
Quick question for you about YouTube.
Sure.
So I'm like you, it's my how-to kind of go-to place, right? When I can't figure out how to open the hood of my car or some other really technical thing, I go to YouTube, how to get the filter out of my vacuum cleaner. But I was wondering if, so we know there are a lot of people accessing YouTube. Do you have any specific demographics about age or anything?
It's pretty much all over the map. YouTube has a very wide range, and so unlike some of the other social media, which does have a narrower demographic, YouTube you can find just about anybody. So the people and the individuals who are, for example, curating their own content, there are some individuals who are now up in the hundreds of thousands of viewers and subscribers who are actually making money on it on a regular basis. Now, those are niche audiences, and those niche demographics are generally trending younger, but you can find generally that YouTube is just pretty much across the map.
Okay, interesting. We actually have a little bit of a live audience here with us today, so we just keep evolving. So welcome. And we had a question, what are good alternatives to YouTube regarding content marketing? And maybe you're going to get into that.
Yeah, I'll talk a little bit about that. but there are a number of sites. So for example, Vimeo Pro is one that's a little bit better. It's a little bit curated site. And so again, you're not having to compete with other videos and having your content being diluted. But if you're looking specifically for content marketing, you really want a site that allows you to get great analytics, I think is one of the key elements, because you want to know that your video is being consumed and by whom. So your ability then to track and integrate that with your CRM is really an important one. Because that's your whole really goal when you're looking at content marketing, is that you want to be able to identify and segment your market, your potential customers, so that you know exactly what kind of content they're looking for, and then begin to tune that content to know that that's really reaching your particular interest or something that you have a particular emphasis on. So if it's campaign oriented, for example, you're driving towards a specific set of services that you're trying to increase, or a number of products that you need to move because you have excess inventory, this is a great way to then sort of focus on and know that this is the way to drive that particular content and have it turn results. Wistia, for example, is one of those, and they've got a great integration overall in terms of back-end CRM. Cost is reasonable, and they've got various tiers of services. But again, you could do a search for content marketing and video platforms, for example, and get a number of places of people who have actually done reviews. You should be probably reading about 2 to 3 different reviews to get a really good feel, because sometimes those reviewers are doing so because they're getting paid, and they're getting paid for writing those reviews. So you want to get a good range of options from those reviewers, so they get really a good experience. I think the website is Wistia, W-I-S-T-I-A, but let me check that because I've got that a little bit further, I think, in my PowerPoint. I can get back to that. Let's see. I'm just checking this one thing. Well, I guess I didn't put it up there. Anyway, I'll confirm that. Find a break. Again, important point there, having your analytics, having those integrations, look at the feature sets, and then match it against your budget. Some of them will have some free options to start out. They give you a very short period to test it out. So you'll want to be prepared so that you can give yourself the capacity to really exercise in that free period or that free time that you have with that service to make sure that it really is a fit. And sometimes you'll get some feature sets in there that appear like they're doing something right, but really need to don't have the right kind of ultimate delivery for your content. So take advantage of those free services. Now, you've got a range of ways in which you can create the kinds of content. It could be podcasting, could just start with simple audio, even easier to produce, and vlogging or video blogging was being able to start producing regular content that would be of a video source, and again, pushing it out to these various sources, as well as having a blog on your own website. Blogs on your websites are really great ways to increase your search engine optimization and discovery. So this is a great source of content, getting out that way, and then of course posting those videos in terms of your web blog as well as other sources. So building up to a YouTube channel, I've seen folks as a business that they're doing regular marketing, informational marketing, utilizing YouTube. Currently it's spring, so I've been focused on, okay, I'm trying to get my lawn ready, and I see about 2 or 3 folks out there who are regularly distributing content about how to take care of your lawn. They're releasing new content all the time. They've become the real thought leaders in my mind, and so I go to them when it comes to thinking about what products or other services do I need that I can take advantage of. So how do we make this all happen? Where does she get those wonderful toys that'll take off on Batman there? Of course, you're carrying one around with you. Increasingly, Our phones have gotten smarter and smarter, and in fact, I've found on the Android platform their highlight video capability, which takes a couple of pictures and videos and mashes them up, and then allows you to select which one you want and add music to it. It will create without automatically editing it for you. So you don't even have to edit some points now. Your phones can do a lot for you. So phone is a great way to be able to start. You don't have to get a video camera. It also has some basic functionality in terms of creating that content, moving that content around, posting that content, and certainly now increasingly so with live video, being able to get out to Facebook, Periscope, others, and YouTube, getting an actual live video stream. Those become recorded and they actually hang around, so that if you want them to hang around, so that you can you continue to use them, be able to reference them. But live certainly has its own little special area of getting excitement and engagement for it. There's PowerPoint plugins, so there's a lot that you can do with PowerPoint, and so it allows you to really kick up your game when it comes to PowerPoint. So just taking a good PowerPoint class, for example, is a great starter. And so kudos out here to Picket Images. That's one that I used in my PowerPoint, where I was able to go out and find clip art for free. And of course, they have the freemium model. You'll find this quite frequently. They have free services, and then they have add-ons that cost money. And so Picket allows you to go out and pick out, choose essentially royalty-free clip art that you can use in your PowerPoint, and use those animated techniques to be able to increase PowerPoint going beyond sort of the static slide kind of effect. Camtasia from TechSmith is a great screencast tool. So Camtasia allows you to record what would be a combined PowerPoint or animations, and then able to edit them together in a way that it gives you a final product. You can send that out as a final video as well. So that's a great tool, basic tool, and allows you to get things started. Of course, having a good quality HD webcam and audio, having a good microphone is an important one. You want to avoid having a really hollow open room, for example, having that hollow sound. And you want to have a good quality, because the difference in audio between an okay mic, something that sounds like it was recorded over the telephone, versus something that sounds like you're actually in the room with the person, makes a difference. And your content will go miles if you are able to get that that kind of a quality. So having your setup, working your setup is really is important. So right now we have kind of a plain background behind us. Maybe you get a pop-up banner and stick it right behind you, and that becomes your set. So it's got your company logo on it or some other information on it. Create some appeal. Do a little bit of a set dressing when you're prepared to do your webinars or do your recordings. Doing it in the shop, doing it in your business, that's a great opportunity as well. Now, there are increasingly a number of cloud-based services as well that will take content and help you generate videos or enhanced presentations. Here are a couple, Slidely, Biteable, and Shaker. A number of these also have integrations for content marketing. And so they'll allow you to take your content video. They are cloud-based services, so some of them have a free element that will embed their own logo in the video, and then you pay in order to get the logo removed and get some additional features. Essentially, you upload this content and you can edit in the cloud and then distribute that content. That makes it very easy to get that content out to various sources, such as Twitter, socialize it, and to other sites that can host that video so that you can embed it on your website as well.
Richard, I've got another question. And this is kind of a perception issue. Which is more believable and effective, a video clip from a live event like a seminar speaker, or a more controlled environment video segment like in a studio setting?
Good question. I think it's really about the delivery and not so much about the environment. So it's how you relate to it. So often in a studio environment, it's sterile. There's no one around, and so there's less energy in the room. And so the presenter doesn't have that kind of energy. They have just their technology in front of them, and it's like, oh, it's a piece of plastic and silicone, and but when I'm actually talking to a person, I'm going to be more animated, and so therefore my vitality is apparent. So it's not so much the environment, I think. It's really about what the energy level is and my ability to connect. And after a while, you can find that I can connect even through a web camera, because I know that I'm used to it. I'm delivering in a way that gets me to that person. because I'm thinking about the person.
Right.
I'm keeping that person in mind. I'm thinking about who are the people there. If I've got a person, and if I've got a buddy or someone who I know can be online, I can think that I'm talking to them. I'm getting good feedback from them. So I think that's really the key aspect, is that authenticity that can come across in delivery is based upon how you're feeling, what your energy level is, and whether or not you're really feeling like you're connecting to a group.
Okay.
You could be out in front of a group of people and the room is dead. There's no energy. You're not connecting with them. And it could be, okay, I'm drone. I'm just going to answer the questions. It becomes PowerPoint karaoke. I'll read the slides. I'm done. So there is a skill to presenting.
Okay.
Richard, we had one more question.
Great.
What are your thoughts on Instagram stories and videos that then disappear?
Yeah, so the challenge there are in terms of the services, right? So those services essentially are very temporary in nature, and they rely upon it being consumed, and then you're not going to see it anymore. You're really not going to find it anymore. They're changing. Some of them have been changing their approach. Some are allowing some of the videos to be able to stay around. And so it's really dependent upon the kind of audience you've been able to gather. Is that audience available now or regionally be available in the immediate time period? And this is true in general for social media. Even Twitter, to the extent to which is a very temporal, very temporary based medium. So you're really trying to connect to a group that's right there, right now. It's something that's very important. So it's almost as if live, thinking about it in the live context. And so therefore, there's going to be little thinking, be thinking little in the way of retention in terms of ROI. So there's some benefit to it. It's definitely, I think, the place to do that is when you're leading up to an event. You've got something that's very specific, a sale, special event that's going on, a celebrity coming in, a concert, those kinds of things where you want immediacy. Those are the places where you want to use that more immediate and temporary type of video and content. Short, sweet, don't invest a lot of effort in terms of creating it because it's just not around for a very long period of time.
Great, thanks.
Okay. So another great place to get, this is my shameless plug here. Another place, great place to learn and get wonderful toys is at the Community Media Center of Carroll County. And we are located in Westminster. You can look us up at carrollmediacenter.org and find out about classes that you can take, as well as some of the equipment that's available and a range of equipment that's available, as well as some of the support that we provide to individuals who are learning, creating a learning environment under which there's a cadre of people who are in the same boat trying to figure it out. So you can definitely come check out the Community Media Center. So now I just want to spend a little bit of time talking about where it's going in the future, and then we'll take some questions and answers. Just recently at the National Association of Broadcasters Convention, that's the largest confab of people who are involved in digital media, television, broadcast, movies out in Las Vegas. And had over 1,700 vendors there. The Las Vegas Convention Center is over 55 football fields. If you stack them end to end, it's about 15 miles just to get through every booth. And my overall impression is that there wasn't anything more breakout really new this year as a refinement from things that were pretty breakout last year. So you've heard about 4K. Well, now they're introducing 8K video. So I'm trying to figure out when will they stop? When is 16K video going to be here? But yeah, don't run out and buy that 4K TV set yet, thinking 16K. Well, it's going to be a while before you see it. And of course, the question is, when will there be 16K content? But more importantly, things are becoming more data-driven in the video world. They're finding ways to connect data and video together, where previously video was its own little stream. Well, now, how do we get the data that accompanies or is important about that video to be something that could be utilized in some fashion? Now, this obviously, you can imagine if you're familiar with search engine optimization, is the key element, the metadata, the things that are the tags that allow us to index and find things, is the beginning parts of data. Something as simple as captioning is data that's associated with a video. So if I want a text caption display, and captioning is increasingly becoming important because as you go through your news feeds, the audio is not turned up. And so your first presence of video, if it's it's not communicating in the first 2, 3, 4 seconds, you're going past that video in your news feed. So having captions or titling on your displays are important. And these services, cloud services, are looking at automated ways of having that happen. So data about that, also data about the circumstance, whether with the location, all of the aspects about that data increasingly becoming important. Text is taking a back seat. Where we were delivering things in text previously, we're going to see more things in video. Just seems to be a natural trend, increasing use of video overall. AI influences. This is a particular vendor who is there. They're doing video analysis. So in a video stream, they are able to detect gender, and the percentages they are indicating its confirmation of gender. They're able to do facial recognition. They're able to do text-to-speech or speech-to-text conversion. They're able to identify brands. So a company who wants to know how often does my brand show up, they can actually do analysis of a video and find the number and places and frequency of their brand appearing. And to the point of evaluating the context of the scene. Was the scene an emotional happy scene or an emotionally sad or traumatic scene? Was there gunfire in the scene? All of these things now, AI essentially is able to go through video and detect and evaluate. This has some interesting applications, somewhat scary, because we're able to see the increased use of augmented reality, under which, based upon data and analysis, they can introduce new elements into the video real time. Now, of course, you see this all the time if you've watched baseball or hockey on television. The video advertisement that's occurring around the arena often is just a green screen if you were there in the stadium, and in an electronic format, that ad is being updated and replaced electronically as it's being distributed to you on a television set. Well, you can imagine now the ability to essentially look at a scene, change the content, take out a brand, put it in a different brand, change the context of what your product placement, very powerful as time goes on. Another influence that was clear is the increased use of video overall in terms of our common or ordinary consumer use. FaceTime and webinars are increasingly becoming routine. And so therefore, the expectation to be able to communicate with a video call to someone is going to be more and more commonplace. Augmented reality, being able to supplement video by adding data elements into it so that as people are able to see various components, be able to evaluate those components, being in real time, actually being able to get data feeds as an overlay, so get a representation of that data feed to increase the time to making decisions, also increasing the ability for individuals to do analysis real time rather than doing a hardcore number data analysis, but getting infographic type representation on real time and video overlay. I think is where I can see augmented reality going. Avatars for the shy. This is the ability for our cameras to be able to look at our facial expressions and then animate avatars in our stead. So that even those who might be shy and wanting to avoid having our cameras on our faces always present, we would end up with various avatars. And then increasingly cameras everywhere. We see security cameras now commonly used to evaluate what might have happened into spaces. You've got a Ring at your front door, and can you get allow someone to leave that package or protect your front package? There's just going to be an increase of camera presence, and so that just increases the use and expectation of video being everywhere. So those are just some of the little things I see as trends going into the future. So let's stop there and see if we've got more questions and answers for folks or thoughts about how you might utilize video more so in your business.
Any questions from the live audience? Okay.
We did have one question, actually a couple, about if there are any CMC membership costs to come use the facility or see what's going on over there.
There are. We do have a member fee, and so you can just go ahead and look us up. Depends upon, we have a couple different ranges of options, so definitely look up on our website, and you'll have some information. You can get the information there.
So I feel like for myself, I want to go back and listen to this again, and then I'll have a lot more technical questions after I experiment. Oh, Richard, I did this, and I had some problems or
Yeah,
successes.
and I didn't get so much into the nuts and bolts of how to do video or where these aspects are. I really wanted this to sort of stimulate your interest in thinking about it, and then a YouTube Google search, just phenomenal in terms of the kinds of information and use cases that you can find out there. And I'd say subscribe to some of the feeds out there, the news feeds that are out there. Various marketing firms, if you're interested in content marketing, for example. If you're interested in doing video production, there are plenty of sites there that also focus every day on video production, but they're a little bit more technical in that range rather than sort of the simple end. So video blogging is probably the place to start if you're doing a search on how to get started in video blogging.
Excellent. Okay. Well, we just thank you so much for being here. Any other final thoughts, Michelle?
Richard, do you have to be a member of the CMC? Can you just walk in? Can you just explain a little bit more about how that works?
So we are a membership organization to be able to take advantage of services. We do have some events and some seminars that are available for free and don't require membership. But generally, to take advantage, you would have a membership fee, and it could be a student. We have regular adult, we have family, and then we have business as well.
Great, thank you.
Well, we've learned a lot here today. We thank you so much for being our guest, Richard.
Yeah, well, it's wonderful.
And we invite you all to tune in next month, and we'll see you then.
Yep, May 15th at 9 a.m.
Okay, great. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Richard.